guys, welcome to Life with Lou. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm Lou and I cover travel, lifestyle and top tip vlogs. We've recently been to Center Parcs and you can check out all of our videos on the channel. But I wanted to share a little bit around the restaurants that we'd been to, what we thought of them and whether they were worth the value for money. So let's start with the first restaurant we tried, which is actually based in the village. It's called the Forester Inn and it is a gastropub. Now, Tom has been to Center Parcs a number of times before, but he hasn't been in 10 years. And it's true to say that the restaurant that was there previously was a high-end restaurant that was adults only. And Forester Inn replaced it in 2020 during the pandemic as a gastropub that was open to everyone, including families. The restaurant itself is really nicely laid out and it's got that gastropub feel. And we had a really simple meal there of ciabatta sandwiches served with fries and onion rings. Now his insides of his sandwich was served warm, but actually it's served on cold ciabatta. And whilst we both felt that our meal was edible, we wouldn't say it was anything to write home about. It was nice, basic pub grub. Now, it's not cheap to go there. And we actually spent, I'm just looking at my notes, we spent £44.04 on our meal there. Now, that did include 2 paid for drinks, but because the service was a little slow, they accidentally made our drinks twice, but gave us free drinks. So admittedly, 3 alcoholic drinks down, we were feeling pretty happy. It's got a really nice environment to it. It overlooks a small park that the kids can play in. The weather was exceptionally good while we were there. And so looking out at the vista of the forest was really lovely. But I would say that if you're looking for a special meal, this restaurant is not the one on site that I would suggest going to. On our first evening, we weren't quite sure what we were going to do. We were originally planning to cook in our apartment, but you will have seen that we had a really small convection oven. So what we decided to do was go to Las Iguanas in the plaza. Now, this restaurant is Latin-inspired food and really fun cocktails that just have a little twist on some of the traditional ones that we all know and love. We found that the ambience and environment of this restaurant absolutely hands down was our favourite experience across Center Parcs for the look and feel, and we almost felt a little bit like we were on holiday abroad somewhere. So it had a really nice atmosphere. And amazingly, for a well-known chain restaurant, the food was really, really good. Now, unfortunately, we didn't capture footage of the food, but I had the chicken fajitas and they came beautifully displayed in a stackable serving dish, which was really, really impressive. The food was absolutely delicious. And Tom went for the fillet steak skewers. Again, really outstanding food, and that came with rice. We both really enjoyed the cocktails we had. If you're a fan of a pina colada, they do a pink pina colada there and it was absolutely delicious. And we spent £69.07 on this meal. So it wasn't the cheapest of meals there, 35 quid each, but we really did enjoy our dinner. What I should say is if you pre-book some of these restaurants, you are going to be asked to pay a deposit. On both Forester's Inn and Las Iguanas, we didn't pre-book, we just rocked up to see if we could be seated. Now, time of year that we went, that was absolutely fine. They weren't actually that busy in any of the restaurants, but some of them we had pre-booked, and that's £5 deposit per person. So that £10 gets taken off your bill at the end. The experience of eating in the plaza is really good fun. When all of the lights come on, it's really pretty. You've got these lovely areas to walk around. But sitting down in the restaurants, they've done a brilliant job of each one feeling distinct and different. So that's something just to bear in mind. On our second evening, we went to Cafe Rouge. Now, Cafe Rouge doesn't really exist as a chain anymore, and the conglomerate that kind of owns all of these restaurant chains is kind of starting to phase Cafe Rouges out of the Center Parcs offering, and I don't think that's a bad thing. This meal was not cheap, and it was by far the most basic meal that we had. We felt it really just did feel like reheated food. And that's really disappointing because it's not the experience that you want. And actually the price point really suggested that food should have been cooked fresh. So in this restaurant, and you will see a theme because onion rings were involved again, but we had two very different meals. I went for the Waldorf salad and I added chicken breast to that. And I would say that my meal was okay, but it wasn't outstanding. So the meal came with a salad base. It came with a blue cheese, chicken and pear, and it was in a vinaigrette. I would say the dressing was really light touch. I could barely taste the dressing. And I would also say that they really skimped on pear. So that special element of fruit that should cut through the Waldorf salad, of course there were walnuts in it as well, just didn't happen. That's a cat, by the way. That's Roxy. I have no control over her. She is her own queen. So we just let her do what she wants to do. But I have to say that this salad was really lacking. Anyway, Tom had a chicken dish that came in a mushroom sauce with mashed potato. And again, this just felt like it had been heated up. It didn't feel like anything special. We had a side of onion rings with it and we had two large glasses of red wine. So we weren't in the space of lots of different drinks and lots of different treats. And that meal came to £59.18. So not a cheap meal, to be honest, for and actually not a lot of food. So in our mind, it was not a great meal. It wasn't our favourite restaurant. And I would suggest that if you have a choice of places you want to go, I would give this one a miss. But we were told by other colleagues that work in these chain restaurants, because they're all, as I say, part of the same conglomerate, the Cafe Rouge is being phased out. I don't think there's any that actually exist anymore in the high streets, but I might be wrong on that. Let me know if you know of one. On our kind of last full night, we went to Rinda Pradesh, which is the Indian restaurant. And this, hands down, was my favourite meal. It was also the most expensive meal. Now, this restaurant is a little bit further out. It's based in the Sports Plaza area of Center Parcs Longleat, and so it is a little bit of a walk down. Now, we didn't mind a walk, and we certainly needed a walk back because it was a lot of food, but the food was really good. The atmosphere was lovely. The service was exceptional. We had like little broken up poppadoms and a dip tray, which was so tasty. We had the onion bhajis. They were light, they weren't greasy, they were crispy and absolutely delicious. And then I went for a chicken jalfrezi and Tom had a lamb curry. And we felt that all of the food that we had was really good. We did do a side of rice and we did do a side of their bang bang potatoes, which were like a slightly spicy Bombay potato style dish. Really, really nice. So we had a wonderful time in there and it felt like a very special meal. So much so that when we go back with family in November, we're going to do that for our aunt's birthday. So that will be really nice. Now the meal there was £89.60. So you're talking more £45 a head for that meal. But we would say it was well worth it. It was a really enjoyable and special meal to have. And plus we saw a bunny rabbit on the way to the restaurant. What's not to love? Now, of course, if you are feeling very full and you're worried about getting home and you're nearer the plaza, you can, of course, get the land train. And I think the land train runs to around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. but we decided we would walk back. Longleat Center Parcs is really well lit on an evening, and so we took a stroll back just to burn off some of that food, but highly recommend rinda Pradesh. It was by far my favourite meal that we had. And then the final one to mention out of the main kind of meals that we had, and I will come on to the Pancake House, was Bella Italia. Now this for us was a lunchtime kind of grab and go. Part of the reason we had a lunchtime meal there was that we were booked into the spa from 6 till 9 in the evening. So we knew that by the time we came out the spa, it would be too late to eat. And so we decided that we'd actually do our main meal at lunchtime. Bella Italia, again, a well-known chain, part of the same conglomerate with Las Iguanas and Café Rouge. And we had surprisingly good pizza in there. So I would say that that meal was one that almost surprised me. The pizzas, again, were not particularly cheap, but we did have really nice pizzas, and the dough that they use is a sourdough and it's quite light and not overly filling. But I had the pepperoni pizza and I had andouja on top, and Tom had a spicy pizza. So we really enjoyed our meal. We had 2 glasses of fizz with it, and most importantly, it got served to us by a bloody robot, which was awesome. So they have a robot that's got a cat-shaped face called Bella, and Bella brings your pizzas to you, and then the waitress kind of put them on the table. But it was super good fun, and all the kids were just so excited. There was a toddler that just kept running around after this robot, and I found it really amusing. But really nice environment. Now at lunchtime, it was incredibly quiet. Again, we didn't book this one. We just walked straight up and they seated us. But on an evening, and particularly at weekends, you will need to book. It gets very booked up. And it's because who doesn't love pizza and pasta? It's easy and most people are going to eat it. Now that meal was £59.28. So it was our 3rd most expensive meal. Again, you know, you're looking at 30 quid a head, and that was just for a pizza and a glass of fizz and a large bottle of water. But we're talking a reasonably expensive meal, so it's just worth bearing in mind that all of these meals do add up. And then I think the final one to mention is the Pancake House. Now, you can't really go wrong with pancakes, to be fair. Again, this restaurant has been newly renovated in 2020. It looked very smart. It was really bright and colourful in there. Tom hankers back to a day where they used to do a fondue on an evening. They don't anymore, which is a shame. It really is just pancakes and French toast. Now, what we would say is it was okay. It wasn't a bad meal. It was distinctly average. We found that our food didn't come out very hot, so that's something to bear in mind. And Tom actually ordered the French toast breakfast, and he got 1 slice of French toast, which I thought was a little bit scrimped for the price that we paid. I went for the American fluffy pancakes, and I had them with banana and a caramel sauce. They were delicious. They are at the start of this video if you're interested as an image. Personally, I wouldn't rush back. It was quite expensive for what it was. It came in at £44.04. And in our minds, it was very average. And I think the breakfast that we had done back in our room, where we had done fresh croissants and chocolate brioche and yogurts and fresh fruit, were more enjoyable, to be perfectly honest, than the Pancake House. But it's a fun atmosphere, and I can see if you've got kids, kids are gonna love it. So that gives you a real rundown on the food experiences that we had. There are some other areas within Center Parcs that we ate and had drinks and snacks. The sports bar is pretty good in the sports plaza. We did have katsu curry fries as a snack in there, and the beer is really good that's on tap. So we went there on the regular and enjoyed a drink. And normally we tied that in with either going to the spa or going and playing a little bit of pool, for some of us badly. And then the other place that we frequented was Starbucks. Who doesn't like a Starbucks coffee? And so that was a really nice treat to be able to go and get a coffee. Now, because of where our room was located, and if you haven't seen our room tour video or any of the vlogs, do check them out. We were so close to the plaza that running across to get a Starbucks was really viable for us. I appreciate that's not going to be the case for everyone, but that meant that we could have a Starbucks on the balcony of our room. We didn't do that too often, but it was a really nice addition and a nice choice to have. You have obviously got the coffee maker in the room. And so I guess on reflection for me, all of the restaurants were perfectly fine. We had good food. None of the food was bad. There was some areas of the food that were average. So if you're going to do a cheese and tomato chutney sandwich in a gastropub, toast it, warm the bread, warm the cheese, make it feel a bit more indulgent. And it was just quite dry, if I'm honest. Same with Tom having a warm brie and bacon sandwich, but that the bread was cold. So there were elements like that that we thought they could uplift on. Pancake House, serve your pancakes warm. Everything felt lukewarm. It wasn't on hot plates. It didn't feel like the food had really been warmed up enough, and it felt like it had probably been sat under hot lamps for quite a while. So again, small things that make a big difference to your enjoyment of a meal. So Forrester's and the Pancake House for me were really average. And Cafe Rouge was expensive in my mind for the food quality that we got. There was nothing particularly bad about what we ate. It just felt like reheated up food. And when they had pulled the salad together, they really hadn't thought about the ratios of the ingredients to really make it a nice balanced salad. But there were some real surprises in there. So Las Iguanas, absolutely fantastic. Bella Italia, really enjoyed our pizza. And of course, that Indian restaurant, if you get a chance and you love your Indian food, I'd really recommend going. So all in all, a really enjoyable experience. Now for us, the cost of the total holiday really ramped up because we ate out. And on reflection, when we've kind of looked back on it, when we go again, we would probably eat in a lot more than we did. Because it really did add to the cost of the holiday. Go with a bit of a plan. I can only imagine as a family that eating out in all those restaurants would really rack up. And so do think about, that balance of eating in and eating out and the quality of the food that you're going to get. I would also factor in that if you buy food on property, you are going to spend quite a lot of money in their little supermarket. It's co-op based food, it's good quality, but it is at a cost. I did feel that the cost of things in there was pretty expensive. It would be far better for you to take cool bags with you and take the stuff in the car. So that's something to factor in if you are trying to do Center Parcs on a bit more of a budget. But I hope this video has been helpful for you. Do check out our vlogs as well. We've got loads more stuff coming, super exciting trips coming up. We're about to do a road surfer camper van trip all the way to Scotland and back, and cannot wait to do that. Really delighted to have you with us, and if you haven't subscribed, please do and hit that notification bell. It makes a huge difference to us as we kind of go on this journey, and we're right at the start. But thank you for sticking along and thank you for being with us. Have a great rest of your day. Lots of love.